Dogs yesterday in Oceania, they pulled the first map, then things started to go a little bit wrong, but it gives you that sliver of hope that, okay, this could be their moment. This could be the time teams are performing above and beyond expectations quite frequently throughout this tournament. I would kind of agree with Milos. I do not think that this map ban has worked into the favor of Cloud9. I think it's...
Oh, okay.
Get that GA out of here.
That is interesting.
Now,
I've got down all the stuff that they actually banned on the maps like this, and I'm curious to know what it was that Giants played, because the one theme that I saw coming out of them on a good number of maps was they always banned the same sort of thing. Thatcher was a very prevalent one, Maestro was as well. On Villa last time round, this was actually against Electrify way back at the start of the season. They banned away Maverick and 1My, so,
Food for thought.
Intriguing. Of course, we haven't seen... This is the thing I'm worried about on this map, if nothing else, for Giants, is yes, Cloud9 have banned this map away all season, but let's not forget in Europe, BDS did exactly the same thing for, what, 20, 30 maps? You never saw them play Villa, and then one day they decided to bring it down and shock the world. So
yeah. I mean, it's one of those...
This could be that time.
I think it was one of those things as well, obviously, after G2. They hid a map for such a long period of time, and then suddenly it was the map that they played, and they were amazing, and they said, we hid that for the whole season. How true those words are, or whether it's just the bravado that they were famous for, is up to anyone's guess. But in the same breath, they performed so well, as you said. BDS did too, so it doesn't mean that it's so strictly a write-off from this ban phase. Okay, yeah, we're sitting here quoting statistics and saying this is probably going in the Giants' favor, but at the same time, we've already seen these great performances, seen these great pulls from the underdog, from these teams that are not expected to do as well as they have done. And I don't know, I've got a good feeling, Des, today might just be another one of those stories. The change from the Clash to the Mozzie is two very distinctly different playstyles as we open for the first round of this slobber knocker on Trophy Statuary.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's the offsite, but it has definitely dropped in popularity. Some teams starting to, well, still play aviator games. That's kind of the most popular. And then downstairs inside the kitchen has grown to be one of the more popular ones in dining downstairs. So this is a... I'd say, again, an offside, I don't want to call it that, but it's definitely something that might throw the attackers off ever so slightly, and also why you saw that 6 pick come through. We have seen a few teams this week playing the Clash and defending on this site, and holding down towards the, when defending Aviator games and holding it down towards the south. Martin said the Giants are still strong, but I believe a miracle will happen. I want to see all 5 maps. Let's go C9 in South Korea. Korean casters also cheer up. I mean, I'm assuming he's not talking to us.
Well, no. Well, we're not the Korean casters, last I checked.
Lost in translation? I don't know.
Yeah, unless... yeah.
I mean, the history of seeing Korean casters, they get very excited.
Oh, amazingly so. It's the... I think the plethora of talent that we have across all the regions for all the different dialects and is just above and beyond. Like, their hype is palpable in the language I am so far from beginning to understand, and yet you're so involved. So hopefully they do cheer up.
Need Geo as a live translator.
Yeah, we're cheering for you guys, Korean casters, as well here. We hope you have a great day as well. But at the same time, we can't be too biased against Giants Gaming. You've got to be ready for what they're capable of. Jordan, looking for the quick entry here as they try and make their way towards clearing down. Actually, no. As I say that, they decide, just going to smash a window, do a little bit of vandalism, and pull away somewhere else.
One of the games that C9 played during the regular season against Guts on Consulate sticks with me so well even to this day, because MV Taylor played the Mozzie almost every single round and was basically on the roam 24/7. The number of opening kills he found in that game was ridiculous. It went up towards double digits. And constantly, Guts just really struggled to shut him down. So I'm very excited to see if Giants can identify where he's playing and catch him out. Earlier on, he was downstairs in the basement. And you got Shyle even holding up down to the south side of the map entirely. So not quite a full extended hold down towards the south. And MV Taylor is now back on site. He was down in the basement not too long ago, but here, trying to cause trouble in close proximity.
Depending on who wins that firefight on the far side, which is started by Sayal blowing through the floor to the best of his ability, this is going to be hysterics. Now, obviously, he's a player that has already been highlighted on the stats. A plus 54 KD, I believe, was the number he was on, and that's just insane. Luna is going to be the one that opens the bloodshed today, taking care of MV Taylor through a bit of a burn. But as I said, this is for me going to be the one. This is the firefight that is going to capitalize this round potentially. And it goes against Hysterics. A great wide swing there for the Jaeger. Allows them to keep this control and forces Giants to feel like, okay, well now we've got to have all of our pressure from one side.
From speaking to the UK coach, Gig, who coaches Giants, he was saying to me yesterday, one of our fears is that when we do get the opening advantage in some of these rounds, you'll often find that we might lose a kill here and there elsewhere, and that small advantage that we took tends to slip away. That opening kill there, the second one that came through, entirely different sides of the map in entirely different circumstances, so I wouldn't be too bothered about that, but it does bring the numbers back to 4 versus 4. Only 35 seconds to go, and Giants have got themselves control of Astronomy up to the north, and here we go. Ysera straight into the default plant spot inside of Statuary. There's one holding out down to the south. There's a free kill coming through. The spraying down onto the actual chassis of the bomb side. Nothing else comes through, and Giants with a flurry at the end. 3 kills coming out of nowhere. And that's all it takes sometimes. It doesn't require the diffuser to actually go down. It's just that it forces the defenders to react, and that is where you can find crucial kills as long as you've got the intel and the correct setup.
I mean, I said the question would be, well, all of our pressure has to come from one side, and they made great use of it. They're able to get themselves in, get that diffuser down, somehow survive the bullets that were cascading around them in probably a very terrifying fashion until, well, the rest of the bodies had been able to be picked up by the guns still standing. The first round falling to the attackers on Villa, a map that we know has been, well, Cloud9, let's say they're not fans of it. Let's put it really lightly.
It was like I said, it's one of those maps where, although they've banded away all season, in private they could have been prepping this. They could have been aware that when it comes round to this best of 5 at the major, assuming of course they make it into the grand final, that they would be forced to play it. It is that pick, ban, pick side of format. So whether you like it or not, you are going to be forced, most likely, to play a map that you hate. The strategies that you can employ in a ban phase like that come down to, do I pick our strongest map first and say, let's get off to a good start? Or do we pick where the other side is weak? It's kind of the same story when it comes into bans. As mentioned for Giants, their bans are generally very typical across maps. And I think coming into next season, that's something that we need to see change. More target bans are never going to be a bad thing. And why is this with you guys? Once the Giants win today, Fluke?
As a fan of anime, are you loving all the profile pictures we get?
I am a massive fan. I'm loving it.
How come you don't have a profile picture like that?
You get flamed for having a profile picture like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to say deservedly you
so
would.
I'll just pick the stupidest profile picture I can.
I'll draw you. But it won't be very good because I cannot draw. Taking Kitchen. They're not going to try and do the top floor again. They're going to rotate themselves down, again avoiding the opposite side. AVG, which was once the familiar standard opening, is still for a huge amount of teams. But here, Cloud9, they're playing a slightly off the beaten path game. They're trying different things, whether it's to throw off Giants or not. Either way, that first round gives the impression that they're kind of unthrowable here. Still setting up and still prepping as we see the buck of Speakeasy only just round the corner of the washroom. Leopard bullets either side and a window broken above almost suffers to Speakeasy, but they do not catch the man that is inside the second floor.
You're also seeing the Bandit coming out with a shotgun there from Nova, opening up the top of the wall, just in case someone dares to try and get a bit too aggressive. He'll be waiting with a C4 in hand, no doubt. They do have 3 of those on side. Envy Taylor with the impact nades, so not quite a full stack towards C4s as you sometimes expect and sometimes see from teams here in APAC. Still opening trades going on upstairs. No one yet going down, mind you, but the bullets have been traded against both the Buck and the Valkyrie so far, both down to about 2/3 HP. You can see they're just kind of dancing around each other, never really quite wanting to engage, but waiting for that opening to strike and bring down the other side.
Again, it's a lot of fire. It's a lot of pace and it's a lot of flourishing, but not a huge amount of results yet. Everybody's kind of swinging in, and I guess it's twinned with that fantastic re-reel, but there's the first body off the board. Envy Taylor is able to get the entry this time and not suffer it. Speakeasy, that's the buck off the board, quickly followed by Ysera of the Maverick. 2 quick losses, and, well, they're going to try and just push through the door. Unfortunately, no entry, as Luna is taken off the board too.
Puts them in a commanding position of 5 versus 2. This is where you tend to say for the attackers the round is over and done. And normally you attribute clutches to the defenders. However, Hysterics opens things up. Again, the top fragger in the whole division across the major, across the regular stage. The guy is an absolute beast. When it comes to clutches, maybe not so many. I believe he's had 1 so far in this major. And actually, it falls down to, I want to say it was Speakeasy, who has like 5. However, he's not on the field, so no clutches today.
No. Obviously, you look at what's been taken out of their arsenal here, including, obviously, their hard destruction, which isn't the biggest point, depending on how you want to push this, but, well, everything is now off the board. Cloud9 Battle instantly back, 1 apiece, and they take their first defensive round. Now, if you're looking at this map historically, you're thinking, okay, you want to leave this half with a defensive advantage. You have to be at least on a 4-2. Anything less than that, and it does not kind of give the impression that you're having a good game. Villa is so structurally heavy, so built around a fantastic defensive half, and, well, I guess, again, it's all these question marks, because we physically haven't seen C9 play it. It could be a great map for them. It could be something where they've kept it kind of in the back pocket for this sort of a moment. It's a lot of pocket strats and a lot of potential and possibilities, but a 1-1 so far. Maybe it was a shaky first round, and maybe we're going to start to see them kick into gear.
Just got to compose themselves a little bit. Round number 1 on this site was a explosion mainly through Astro, as you saw, and then a plant forcing that closing fight in which Giants won all of the key gunfights. Good coordination. Would maybe like to see the side of C9 stick a little bit more in towards Astro, and the picking up of the clash might do just that for them. In fact, they changed site at the last second, so now I've got to change my notes. Wonderful.
Amateur mistake.
Very amateur. Yes. Writing it down until
it's only a major final. I mean,
how dare I? Absolute fallacy. But okay, Aviator in games here. You bring in the clash along. We've seen teams use this in a number of ways. You can play it up on 90 just to try and slow down the start of the round and force the aggressors to have to come and force you away from 90 before they can even start thinking about the site. Others opt to play it inside of Study and prevent the attackers getting in on the south balcony, and others will play it inside of Aviator itself, watching the north door with also half an eye looking down towards Study. The fact they've opened up some of these holes in this wall facing down towards the Study door inside of Aviator, thank you very much, medics, just means they can play a bit more aggressively here. So I kind of expect to see the clash in this case probably playing on these stairs down to the south and holding across laterally while someone else plays from inside of sight to say you will not be allowed inside of Study. Class is out.
Yeah, you see the doubling up there with the shield and the ADS means that they want to dig in to that corridor and keep it under their control. Nova can also play this towards the adjoining room between the Study and, was it the strategy table? It was described as, I believe, before the other day. But it's from the game, Ruse.
It's from Ruse.
The Ruse
game
table. So Nova's going to play it there. If you're looking at a comparison here, think of the top floor of Cafe when you're defending that white corridor. You have the ability to just kind of keep them at bay on those windows on the long range. They cannot get a true entrance, but somehow it doesn't matter. Sweet Black gets a little bit too bold and a little bit too curious, and unfortunately gets gunned down. Hysterics is the first to find a body, but there's MV Taylor with a quick trade back as Luna just boldly went where, well, Luna didn't go. No landing there for the Rover as they look to find another long-range firefight. It's over and deep through the doors towards the outside, but not quite as scenic as they wished.
A couple of shields facing down towards this doorway means that Giants have got to start putting some of that utility into those shields and forcing them out the way. But this is that utility meta we find ourselves in sometimes. Fluke, ADSs, the magnets sat in the way. It's not as simple as just look at it and blow it out with the breaching charge. Never quite so simple. Now starting to push from the bottom of stairs. This is the usual take. If you want to break this open, you can play from below and start forcing this corridor that you can see Harper inside of, getting shot from below. And as I say it, that's exactly how it plays out. That's the second down in this round this time. Giants will complete the kill. Sweet Black, of course, did get revived onto about 20 HP, and he's still holding onto stairs with just one smoke canister remaining.
Well, they went bold, and unfortunately they won't grow old as a double comes through for Sweetback. A great pickup there with the shotgun on the secondary, and now it's just, again, the changing of the half, but Sarah swings wide. They almost suffered on that window at the beginning of the round, and they finally do have that premonition come true and have their life taken from exactly the same swing in exactly the same location. Now a 2 versus 2, but you look at the low amount of health in the hands of the Giants, and you look at the, oh, that's a clash.
Yep.
Big problem.
Massive problem here, because if you get too close, she can just start zapping you away. You may well find yourself going down to the electric. It's more of a tickle when you're at max health. Much more of a problem when you're sub 25. Ysera swings in though from 90 hallway, finds one for himself onto Envy. One more from the north side. It's into a 1 versus 1. Nova is in such a great position but doesn't know that Ysera is planting, and now it's into a post-plant 1v1. You love being a clash in this situation, but you need to find where this defender is. Surely can now see him. This could get very tough because all he's got to do is zap that life away from him. Trying to find his way around. Grenade still in the back pocket, trying to do what he can. This is going to get tough. Here we go with the 360. Gets a spray as well. What a play coming out of Nova to take the round for Cloud9. Going to find ourselves going up to 2-1 to Cloud9.
opening with something like that.
Get styled on, kid.
I am so excited. So excited for this game. I was so excited when I woke up today. But the capabilities that these guys are showing already, every single trade seems to be different individuals. Every single person seems to be finding their way into this firefight. It was one of those things that we mentioned when we first saw Cloud9 in the previous day, was they obviously have a very strong roster and then a player who unfortunately hasn't been able to show up as much. Here he is showing up. Here we're seeing more of kind of Sweet Black. And in the same breath, look at them now. Look at everybody just getting involved, getting themselves into these gunfights and fire. They know how much is on the line here. And they are definitely wearing it on their sleeve.
Sweet Black's having a party, I think it's fair to say.
Oh, yeah. It's just, you know.
He had such a rough main season as well. -21 when it came to KD. And then even stepping into the major itself, it didn't look so pretty. He did improve. He could go 12 and 10 so far in KD, so it's not been the worst for him. An entry so far during the major admittedly hasn't been pretty, but realistically, do you want your smoke player taking the entry kill?
No,
not really, no.
Preferably, if your smoke player is in the entry situation, unless you're in LATAM, where they do like to roam smoke sometimes, something's gone wrong.
I mean, you're a great stall tactic, right? Chuck down a couple of those cannons, burn through 25 seconds easy.
Yeah.
With shotguns. I get the logic, but
the situation.
As we spoke about the other day, it comes down to that MOBA reference again, at the power spikes of these operators, and smoke is just so invaluable in the closing seconds when teams are starting to rush in with 20, 30 seconds left on the clock. But that was the big thing for me coming in today, was Sweet Black versus Luna and how the two have stacked up so differently during the major. And let's not forget, here at the major, you're against tougher opposition. You are against the top 6. You don't get your air quotes free KD or whatever else you want to call it against the teams that are in the bottom 6. It's all show up or you go home. And so far, he has shown up, and that's the big thing in my mind.
One of the things as well is if you're looking at this bracket, you know the bracket, you know the prep you can run. The Swiss system is obviously one where week in, week out, you're looking at how things can change, and you don't really know how your season is going to shape. And we've had some teams not show up to expectations. You would probably have prepped quite big for teams like Fnatic. And now it's a situation where you go, okay, we know the obstacles ahead of us. We know who we have to go up against and how we can work towards it. It allows teams like this, with their kind of support staff, with the hyper-focus they can apply to, well, apply it. Learn the weaknesses, learn the strengths, and learn how best to try and butt heads.
Start of the round, nothing much has to happen yet. Villa's always one of those maps that it requires a bit of droning, it requires a bit of clear. Very commonly, teams when assaulting into Trophy and Statuary will start on the south side in Study, work their way through a book or two, and then up towards the site. And it's just about making sure that those south stairs are covered, that no one can give you any jip. You can even see here, though, Cloud9 opting to play out in the field itself, 2 playing to the south, the Goyo and the Jaeger. Just saying, if you do want to come through Study, well, guess what? There's quite a bit of time you're going to have to work through first. And it looks like Giants have cottoned onto that and said, forget about the south. Let's just take the riskier tactic of trying to push directly in towards the site. It can make it quite difficult to get inside the building because as soon as you're jumping through these windows, you are potentially in sight lines of the defenders. And you all know what happens when a defender's got their guns trained on your entry points.
There is a huge amount of roam control in the hands of Giants right now. With the, obviously, you've got your Jackal, you have to kick Dockerby, you also had a Nomad, or you still do, obviously. It's MV Taylor that's actually the first one to go down, the Mozzie, and it seems like they're expecting a huge roam play here from C9. And I guess, again, that comes down to, well, how much do they know of C9? Because, unfortunately, from our perspective, after not seeing them play it and ban it every single time, well, we don't know a huge amount of how they like to go into this. They're obviously still bringing the hard destruction, the ability to get through these close walls and get into the close quarters that they need to, breaking straight across the sightlines here. And obviously, you know, they're only opting for the Maverick. No Hibana, no Thermite, they're both possibilities and both open. And obviously with Thatcher off the board, I guess you've got to have more of a reliance upon this. But so far, we're not seeing any wall denial, any of that kind of play. It's not coming down to the hard walls, these firefights. As I said, everyone's showing up and just trying to shoot each other in the face.
It's always the game plan. Shoot him in the face and you win rounds.
Shoot him in the face.
Shoot him in the face, forehead. That's the way it goes. They're the two that were playing Rome and now finally decided to peel back from the south and abandon it altogether and just say, right, forget about it. We lost 1 or 2 up top. We've lost control of Astro again. Harper's going to take control of Luna and bring him down. That's the Nomad out of the way. Those air jabs, no doubt, already deployed, so not quite the end of the world. It's a double kill for him. One traded back by Jordan, even finds himself a second. They try and burst in towards the side, but Cloud9 a bit too prepared in this round. And Giants lacking the pace that we saw back in round number 1.
Cloud9, 3 in a row, including the site that didn't go their way at the very beginning. They've been able to pull off the 3-map rotation. Now they're looking so much better than they did in the first round, but in the same way, you look at how close that came to. It was a very frantic firefight. If there was an extra 10 seconds for Giants to have a little bit more strategy about how they wanted to kind of get into that site and get to grips with what Cloud9 were doing, well, then it might have gone the other way. But I guess for me, it raises the kind of question of, well, they're bringing a lot of this roam clear, or they brought a lot of this roam clear, and they didn't do it as swiftly as we know that they're capable of. So whether it's something where they're still getting to grips with how Cloud9 like to play Villa, or it's just the huge heft that this map offers is throwing a few kind of sticks through the spokes of the strategy. But either way, it seems like they're adopting a little bit more aggression here. Changing off the Nomad, bringing the Hibana 2 instead of the Maverick, it, for me, highlights a little bit of a change of pace.
A change of pace, and also considering that C9 in the last time on this site didn't really have to change pace much. They could sit there and be pretty patient and just said, look, Giants, you want to come at us? We've got the wall open, we've got C4s ready, we're watching the doorway if you do try and burst through, and found themselves 2 opening kills in the round. So, I don't know. Giants, I think I want to see be more cautious in this round. Don't want to get themselves caught in these early engagements that's removing crucial utility, because one point worth mentioning, as the defenders, if you die, it's probably worth you trading for an attacker, because the attackers, more often than not, will not have expended the utility that they're bringing into the round early on. If you can get an early trade as a Jaeger, for example, after putting down your ADS, well done, you've done the hard work. If you bring down someone like an Ash or a Zofia who still hold on to the impacts or the breaching rounds, that's a dream situation.
Sweet Black, playing aggro above. They obviously have the rotation, which actually they're going to use. They're not going to go as aggro as expected, but hey, they've still got time. Astro Stairs is only a few paces away, and you can get yourself back in the vertical, causing problems. Hysterics is going to do the slow approach from the opposite side. Try and collapse against anyone that might be towards AVG. Force them back above the site. It allows the close down to be much tighter, and, well, Jackal, he's like Tarantino, has a habit of finding feet.
Nice. Does find some feet, but I don't think actually going to find the individual who owns those feet, unfortunately, Fluke. As they are indeed pulled back towards the site. Got Harper playing downstairs around that living library area, more for the C4s if there is a push upstairs from the south side. We spoke about this a number of times, where vertical play is a lot on this map, or a big focus of it. Interesting that Giants, by the way, have opted to stick to this kind of lineup that is very more, I want to say not so much unconventional, but it's a little bit different. You'd normally see a sledge being brought along because you want the frag grenades. Here in this round, they've got none of them. They are relying entirely on the destruction coming out of the Ash and the Zofia to get the hard yards done. I guess you could say because there's a shotgun on the side of the Jackal, it's something, and also the smokes for the execute. So it's not a conventional setup that you'd normally see coming out, but they've got the tools to do the job.
Valkyrie still under pressure here below, playing towards Mudroom, but obviously they're firing back. They're being aggressive in response, and I believe still has the C4 in pocket too, so the Jackal can't get too aggro. No, actually popped and gone, but, well, you've got one in the hand of Sweet Black and Nova, so they're still pretty well equipped. There goes Nova's, though, to open a rotation to get a bit of aggression down to the stairs, and, well, there goes another. Unfortunately, I was talking about the possibilities of C4, and they demonstrate that they don't even want them anymore, and they don't even want their life. Nova caught out by Speakeasy, with Sweet Black finding Jordan of his own. The Valkyrie cam is just above you, Hysterics. There you go. And now it's a pop through the wall.
It's kind of dancing around fire, isn't it, when you're playing on the top floor and there's just C4s sailing left, right, center. No matter where you walk, they're trying to kill you, but expertly dodging. Clearly, Giants have been to a few dance classes. Sweet Black going down to Hysterics. A good couple of kills singing through, but they're coming back in trade. Envy Taylor Pokeballs onto Speakeasy, 3 versus 3. Harper still managing to find one back for himself. This leaves that site a little more strongly leaning towards the defenders, even more so once Charles pops out and picks up Hysterics for himself, and Envy more than happy to collect Ysera to close out the round. Another relatively stationary round from the defenders, not really feeling stretched, it feels like, on this site.
I think that's the thing about Giants as well, is when we saw them the other day against Xavier, to their word, they were making a few mistakes. They weren't quite playing at what they're capable of. Don't get me wrong, Xavier showed up huge. They were so good, so aggressive, and so consistently causing problems for whatever Giants Gaming wanted to put forward. Here, Giants Gaming, they seem to be struggling. We all looked at the map pick and we went, oh, uh-oh. Because this is, again, something that could play very much into Giants' favor. They've shown up unsure, I think it's fair to say. Which is fine if you're going to be playing a map which you don't know what they do, but you picked this as your opener. You picked this as your, we're going here. And it seems like currently on their attacks, they're just not really sure why.
The one thing I'm most worried about in this series is maps 4 and 5. Stepping into Cafe, especially against Cloud9, I think is going to be a real challenge. It has been one of their most popular and most successful maps of the season. Whereas on the side of Giants, although, yes, it's been played a couple of times for them, I would go as far as saying that it's still a risk. They've won it 3 times, admittedly. Hasn't been the worst, but they've had a couple of close games. And in fact, I remember seeing C9 playing on this map, and I can't recall who it was against, but they had a real problem with dealing with C4s from below, constantly being caught up by these on their push across the top floor. So I hope that coming into that, they've been looking at those maps historically and know this is what needs to change for this series. We can't play it the same way we normally do because Giants will tear us apart.
5 seconds left.
Setting themselves up with the clash yet again. Now, obviously, this came down to a little bit of heroics on the top of the staircase, but with Clash playing on the split, well, it came down to even more from her. 360 is no reliance that anyone, not even the Bikini Bodhi spinner himself, would want. But, hey, if it's going to come down to clutches, this was something that Hap said on the desk. A lot of this happened during their butting heads in the season. Whenever they would find a confrontation, it would often come to the wire, and unfortunately, well, for Jordan, it doesn't even come close to the building.
Unfortunately not. And looking on the other side, I'm immediately leaning towards Luna on that Ying. We have seen Ying pick so much this week, yet I think only once I've seen a successful Ying execute come through. Often finding the Ying gets picked off early, or the team is just completely ruined in numbers, and they don't have the opportunity to execute in the way they want to. So it's all about Luna staying alive here in this round for me. It's all about getting into position for the execute behind those Candelas, behind those smokes, and I imagine their focus is going to be inside of Aviator. They want to smoke off the room. They want to get themselves behind that vault door and go for a plant whilst masking the sound of it thanks to those Candelas. But I'm leaning towards C4s and thinking, well, Envy Taylor might be the only one with one on side, but the number of times we've seen players just say, stick a player downstairs. They haven't got the tracking anymore. There's no Jackal. You can afford to be a bit more aggressive on these roams and try and make those vertical plays that catch the other side completely off guard.
Now everything and the kitchen sink is electrified inside the site, and with the opening blood, look how aggressive C9 are getting. Envy Taylor is waiting on the double door to swing on anyone that gets a little bit kind of out of their eyes on the 90 window there, but it looks like they're just going to take it aggressively, looking towards the classical long push, whilst they keep a bit of attention in the Clash's eyes on the opposite side.
Bit of a scrap coming in towards landing. Shah with the second kill of the round. Collects Ysera as well as Jordan, and that's the hard breach down. Not that it's really a big concern when you're trying to push him from the north side, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind here that that is going to be lacking and means they don't have options leading towards 90 or anywhere else. Envy collects Hysterics, and despite a push coming up red stairs, Speakeasy is going to shut that down in no time at all. Only 2 members left, a bit of a split being set up here. One down 90, one towards Aviator. Not the dream scenario. Trying to make a play in with the Candelas. Ah, no, quick shoot it. Don't flash my own teammates. Not quite how we intended to see the Ying.
No, but hey, if you're going to fail that, just shoot him. Pops it on the Clash, going to distract him. Another one bounces wrong. The ricochet is all off with the measurements, but Wamais is spot on. Swings with a gun that you don't often see on the kill feed, and every Candela went, unfortunately, the way of the sky.
I think that went the way that first half went was exactly as we expected. Villa, generally defender-leaning map, can be very tough to break. It is a large map to clear. That round, admittedly, wasn't really down to the clear. It was more down to the members getting picked off by the odd member of C9 popping the head up. It was like whack-a-mole where the whack-a-moles hit back. And unfortunately, down at 5-1, looks a little bit dicey for Giants. It is their map pick. It is going into the defensive side. This is where you would expect to see them shine. But let's not forget the fact that having played it once, Cloud9 do have some information. They've seen them play this, so unless these are completely refreshed strats, I imagine they've got a few ideas in mind here on how to bring the Giants down a peg or two.
The kill are so even. The kills. Multiple kills.
The kill is even.
Nobody is only on one kill. Everybody has at least a couple. And for me, I think this kind of dictates how the game is going, because Cloud9 just seems a little bit better right now at locking off those final engagements. They seem a little bit sharper when it comes to having the angles, and yeah, sure, that's helped by a defense. You're the one that's having your setup tested. You're the one that can kind of play around the trades and say, well, we expect them here, so we have a body here and here and here to pull stuff back together. That's a good line from a cringe god.
Imagine having Ikea as your profile picture.
I think it's just the ick.
Ick is...
No matter how tall the Giants are, they'll never reach these clouds.
Man clearly hasn't seen Jack and the Beanstalk.
I mean, it was a reference earlier today.
It was, but it's true, because it's through the clouds.
Did you know Milos wrote that? He's that old. He would sit by the fire and pen children's fairy tales.
Milos looks like a man who could be the Giant. Imagine him just walking at you going...
Yeah, it was an autobiography when he wrote it. It was about... It was about...
no, it's more of a biography. It wasn't an auto one, because it's from a different perspective.
Yeah. Like Happy Potter. About Hap. Hysterics is waiting aggressively on the close window with the Jaeger, seeing if anybody comes close. They were spawn peaked before, at least their team were, and they want to kind of put the same pressure down. They are close to Zofia, but fortunately close doesn't guarantee. There is a little bit of damage done to Luna just from a pep for a window. Screamed loudly, but unfortunately for the attackers, didn't really take a huge amount of damage, more just a graze.
Ooh.
That is more than a graze, though.
You've always taken a massive risk by peeking out of a window like that, given how much space there is outside to bring you down. Obviously, the ledges are quite wide, believe it or not. You are stuck in a very, very small window. It's quite easy to just hold the gun on it and wait for them to swing across. As Hysterics is more than happy to oblige to MB Taylor. That's the north side clear. They've now got rid of the Roma. Looking towards this Yokai drone, I was going to say holding out at the top of landing. I was like, hey, that's probably not the most ideal place to plant this, given they are sniffing around. But with there being no IQ, what you're going to have to rely on instead here is the Decabi. And with those cams hacked, they know exactly where those Yokais are going to be. Not quite as ideal as an IQ, but still very helpful.
A lot of patience here coming from the guns of C9. As I said, if there's one thing I'm complimenting them on a little bit more than I am on the Giants, it's how quick and how sharp they are when they need to push. And this is the example, but Luna and Speakeasy deep within the gun vault are able to quickly shut that down. Sofia's looking for a little bit more aggression. There's one either side. Luna, get off your drone. Luna, look right. Luna, oh no! A 3 versus 1. Sarah's going to do their best to pull it back, but the diffuser is going down behind vault door in the default plant spot. There's a pre-fire through a wall. They know someone's close, but unfortunately close doesn't guarantee it. That does a little bit more. See the spine of a man fleeing. And now it is just 30 seconds to try and get this. They swing, they fire. That's going to buy them some time. They're going to try and stick it. They can't quite get the angle. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Sile throws himself, and it was brilliantly played by Ysera. Waited, baited, done like a kipper.
Like a kipper. Oh, man. I said the other day in some of the series that the number of times we saw rounds go beyond, go to this 1v1, this 1vx, the post plant has been so thrilling here in APAC, and APAC North definitely isn't shying down from the challenge to try and exceed what we saw in South Asia or in Oceania. Wonderful round coming out, and that is so pivotal. Because for Giants, that would have been 6-1 down. 5 rounds in a row required to bring them back into it. And maybe it wasn't as pretty as they expected. Maybe Cloud9 came at them with just a little bit too much pace. But thankfully, managed to come back and win the round. 5-2 as we head towards Trophy and Statuary to the north of Villa.
Trophy Statuary is where we're going to head to next. And obviously, this was the only site that was taken by their attack, and well, let's see if their defense is a little bit sharper. The 1 versus 1s apparently refuses to end.
I love them.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, to our joy,
and to their weakness of the heart.
Their weakness of the heart, and probably the viewers' distress as well. I can only imagine how you guys are dealing with these moments in the chat, but I'd recommend watching this entire stream sat down.
And even then, be careful you don't tip the chair over. Right?
Yes. Well, they're going for a very big extension here, all the way down. Obviously, the opposite staircase. And in study 2, we saw this as a bit of a play previously, obviously, from the roaming Jaeger of Ysera. Make sure that they can keep themselves mobile, keep themselves aggro, and keep a large section of the ground under their control. The external Valkyrie cam there from Luna.
I didn't even really clock that at the time. Nova coming running in from the aviator door was probably a misplay there. Either you hold 90 or you just sit back on red stairs and wait until you hear the diffuse coming through, and maybe even run downstairs below. Your diffuser's down, the floor is soft. You could just play down there and be looking to destroy it from below and spray down Ysera as he goes for a diffuse. We keep on saying this about the region. It's never really massive mistakes that shine through in these rounds. It comes down to the small things, like that exact moment there, that can cost teams rounds.
Heavy drone work is the start of C9's, and, well, I guess when push came to shove previously, when I was explaining how tight they are at the use of utility, I'm thinking that's still continuing. And to be honest, that's the game for them that's definitely seen their step ahead and why their defense has started to swing in their favor. We're talking about smokes being the first port of call earlier, and this is for me one of those very good structural locations of possibility. You have so many ADS, I'm assuming a couple of discs too, just something to kind of keep you aware. They don't have the ability to do the swing in, there they are. This is come and take us. Come and take us out of here. I can swing aggressively from, well, didn't that time. I was going to say like this, but then they didn't actually swing on it. The destruction from Sweet Black underneath shows that they want to get this wall open. And when I was talking earlier about they're bringing a Maverick for this is why Hibana can be very good, because you can get this from range. You can be a bit safe. The problem is, Speakeasy can also just swing around and shoot them out if they're placed incorrectly.
He's got a rotation that leads in towards Bathroom too, so not only do they need control of Astro to kind of have someone on the window, they need to get inside Astro and cover off the Bathroom so he can't just swing out and spray it, or they need to clear Speakeasy out of the closet, which requires a lot of utility. 3 ADS is set up in there, as well as a magnet. It's not going to be pretty. Sweet Black worried about the south side more than anything else. No one is here to clear out the Goyo shield, so they can proceed unimpeded. As I say, that Hysterics actually swings his way back towards 90, and it feels like everything has gone black.
It's one of those moments and one of those times where you just think, have I accidentally closed my eyes or not? Stats, you'll be like, last Tuesday you had a bottle of water and it was this half full and it was at this temperature. That way you're going to play rock this time. I am happy.
It's the kind of stretch that he would go for. But we are back into game. Round number 9 coming up. As mentioned during that issue, the technical rehost that we had coming through, Cloud9 took the round. They're at 6-2 on a map they have banned all season long. 11 straight bans every game of the regular season. Coming then into the games that led us to this grand final, also banned away. They have saved this one for Giants. They've said, don't you worry, they're hiding something behind their back, and now that it's come down to it, they've finally brought it out and gone, bam, here's the surprise.
3 C4s on the board gives, well, the impression of how they want to hold this. And this is generally how you hold it. You'll put a body upstairs. They'll try and dig in on the second floor as much as they can, around the bedroom and around this play space, have the hatch open and try and cause as many problems. Force time, which in a map as big and as arduous to push through as Villa is, it can swing whole rounds in your favor, especially, not to say it one more time, but I'm gonna, with how frequently these rounds have been ending on these end of the line, this is it, all or nothing, mano a mano, shoot each other in the face plays. And, well, you know, we haven't seen a huge confidence from the roam game. It's the skill of Giants Gaming, but unfortunately it's lacking that little bit of fire, I guess, that's been snuffed out by being put on the back foot so early on.
You can't ignore the motivational effect this has in a best of 5 like this. When you've picked a map thinking, oh, this is fine, we're prepped, we're ready, we know we can win, you come into it and you get slapped off the park, as they are currently feeling it against Cloud9. And who knows how Oregon goes as a result. Start of this round, we are downstairs. You saw a couple of members holding on the upstairs, and Hysterics is straight in with a kill onto Shyle. That doubles up, if not triples up for the side of Giants. So in no time at all, they've pushed their way in towards the site, they've forced their way in, and are currently taking fights left, right, and center. And with 3 members down the side of C9, it is going to take a hero play from Sweet Black. The support that we said earlier on has been playing much better, and Envy Taylor, who, as the kind of leader of this team, you would expect in big situations to be able to step up big, but no. Giants unfaltering in this defensive round, find 4. This could be the flawless round, and you would never guess it, given how it's shaped up so far. There we go. The 5th and final kill onto Envy. C9 not even getting a sniff in that round.
Well, I mean, if there's a time to bring it out, it's probably no time like the present, really, when you're on match point and you're on the possibility of losing Villa, a map that we cited as being a great one for them. You look at where we're going next. For me, you also look at the fact that obviously Coastline, I believe, is that end throw, a map that we know Cloud9 are very good at. The map that obviously Giants Gaming was beaten on during the regular season.
Beaten is a soft word.
Yeah, very soft word. So for me, if Cloud9 can push themselves all the way to Coastline, that's a really good position to be in. They can really find themselves in the possibility of, okay, last map, 2 versus 2, we've got this, it's Coast. There's obviously still a lot left to do here. We're obviously still only 3 rounds away from the possibility of an overtime on this opening map in the but Giants, you know, that was the sharpest they've looked. They've got to try and replicate that a couple more times first.
Imagine that brief moment of pause did help them, of course, at no fault to either side, but for Giants there, that is probably the breather they needed to talk and ask, boys, backs are against the wall here. We're down 6-2. What needs to happen for us to pull this back? And in that last round, it felt a lot more like the kind of matched aggression from Cloud9. You already saw them go for that rush earlier on inside of Aviator Games. Oddly enough, the site that we're returning to now came up very successfully. And they were caught with their pants down. They managed to respond with Ysera coming back with some incredible plays to win the round out for them. But being aware of the pace at which C9 are playing, I think, is the biggest thing they can do for themselves here. If you can match and adapt as they did in the last round across the next 3, it goes to overtime. That would be one hell of a comeback. And Giants, they are no stranger to max round maps, given their series against Xavier the day. 8-7, 7-8, 7-5. 42-round slog. They've been doing some of that endurance running, I think.
Hey, I was there. Oh, wait, you were as well?
Oh, no way.
Oh, I wondered where I knew you from. Applying the pressure towards Study almost instantly. They want to try and, again, force some aggression out of Giants. And as you said, Giants looked the most aggressive they did last round. One of the things that I was kind of calling for was a bit more confidence. And you can't really get more confident than the opening 3 kills within the opening 30 seconds. That is a team that has had a heck of a team talk and put their heads together to try and find a better solution. Because I think in their books they know as well, okay, there's still a best of 5. It's a long play day ahead of us. But to go off the back foot this early, this kind of aggressively, again on an unknown factor of a map, gives Cloud9 a huge bonus in momentum and confidence, which if it starts to span multiple maps, you're going to find yourself in very hot water. Even if they lose this, if they can bring it to a close fight, Giants, well, they've still got that heat. They've still got the pepper that we know they are capable of. The wide roam clear comes out as they already get control of Trophy Statuary, and it's just a matter of taking the other half of the second story now, with Hysterics being the possible problem.
Just playing it safe. No need to go too crazy. Make sure they have the air jabs down in the correct places, and they've got Emmy Taylor on standby here, ready with his finger on the trigger of that EE1D, saying, we know someone's nearby, give us a hand. And I think we spoke about this on the desk the other day, that when you have the Lion on side, it's about pairing it up with the drones as well. Make sure you're able to drone someone in case they do sit still. The drone can find out where they are, can ping for you if required, and generally that person will not be too long for this world. But as much as I talk about the Lion, things like this still happen. Such a big map, lack of droning in given places. C9 not paying the right amount of attention lose arguably the biggest piece of the puzzle to them winning this round.
It's one of the things worth stating as well. As you said before, you were chatting with Gig, the coach of Giants Gaming, and he said sometimes we have this habit of we'll get the opening kill, we'll get the opening momentum and not be able to capitalize upon it. That makes the 6th opening kill that we've seen come into the favor of Giants. Cloud9 have only had 3. Obviously, I can't quite count the round that we didn't see because I just do not know, guys. But in the same breath, you know, obviously the score is the opposite of that. As moments like this happen, Harper with a quick close down, Sweet Black with a quick push right through the heart of the site. There's a man down on the floor as well, but they're going to get themselves back up in the exchange. Sweet Black goes down and gets finished off by Jordan. A beautiful deep pick there from Harper onto the red door, and now they've just got to do a couple more. There is a rotation coming in from the back. The pings are quite extensive and quite threatening. They can't quite find their way directly through with the diffuser cold. Yet again, this is a round that goes the way of the Giants.
Ooh, a little bit scrappy, and as soon as Cloud9 explode onto the site, I thought, no way if they managed to get themselves inside a vault, no way if they got control of Aviator, this round could be done. But a couple of those long-range kills coming from back behind the bar through the rotation between the sites gives Giants the opportunity to pull things back. And Cloud9 may be a little bit aggressive in trying to force their way back in towards the vault there to try and get one of those closing 2v2 kills. It does put us at 6-4, and that overtime looms ever closer, Fluke.
I think that's one of the things as well, is obviously you look at the score coming into the half, you looked at it was a 6-2 as well, getting themselves in such a good position, only 2 rounds into their opponent's defense. You know, it's one of those ideas of, okay, they're not doing too great, but then C9 lost the opening round on their defense, and then from then on, were able to completely sweep back. There was the moment of the rehost, there was the moment of being able to talk to each other, get their heads back on. For Cloud9, unfortunately, they seem to have been stepped up to, which they hadn't had to really fight and force back against this entire game so far. Giants, not to say, are now completely flawless, as we saw that round come, as you said, exceptionally scrappy. But, well, they got to find more than scraps if they want to get a full meal out of the rest of this villa. 6-4, still match point, still only 2 steps away, though, for Giants to pull themselves to OT.
The previous round was that flawless round, that last one a little bit closer. So I'm wondering if the trend continues and C9 look even more competitive coming into this round. Going to be a similar setup once again. It appears that Smoke Speakeasy will disappear, no doubt, into the closet soon and be ready, sat on top of those 3 ADSs with a shotgun in hand, challenging the side of Cloud9, saying, please, I dare you, do come and try to remove me. Cloud9, their response most likely going to be, let's at least start on the south side, clear things up as we did last time, and maybe just ignore Master altogether and go for a more alternative push.
Hysterics lying in wait, and Harper might be the victim. But, well, it's a slow and steady entrance here as they look towards the art studio, and Hysterics is actually going to rotate up to the second story. The Wamai can keep themselves going for a long time. Hysterics, too, a player who, if I'm going to cite the amount of opening kills that have gone the favor of Giants Gaming, out of those 6, he is 4 of them. He knows where he needs to be and why he needs to be there, and only taking the opening death slot once. Out of the 3 times Giants Gaming have suffered it, well, he's doing very well. It's just, again, unfortunately unable to capitalize upon that. Capitalize upon the great opener. The capital letter, unfortunately, falls to a mumble as the round goes on.
I love how Hysterics has spent probably most of this game sat at a window, just waiting for someone to appear. He was stung quite hard earlier by Envy, actually, inside of Master when he did try to peek onto him, if you remember. He was on the rappel. It was as free a kill as Envy was ever going to get. This time a little more cautious, hasn't found himself picked off just yet, so still a 5 versus 5. And I say that, Hysterics going to find a kill out of a window. So, Giants are saying, no building entry for you. We are holding Master, we are holding towards the north. Simply don't even bother trying, friends.
In the same breath, obviously the head-for-head, or head-to-head, was put up as MV Taylor. He hasn't been as successful, regardless of the success Cloud9 has had. The opening kill twice, the opening death now 4 times. Sile is one that's been able to have a similar kind of split. Slightly worse on the opening, but again, it's the capitalizing. It's the shutting down as a team that seems to be really, really good for Cloud9. And here, the amount of utility that's being burnt against the smoke, he's just going to make sure that his cubby is safe. And Nova goes deep and goes attempted, but there's Harper with the trade, a player who, for me, has really lit up this game.
C9 are stepping in, keeping in step, with the side of Giants there. Every kill they found, the last 2 have both been matched just a couple of seconds later, traded back out. So it puts us in a 3 versus 3, only 45 seconds left on the clock, and no control of Astro yet, even trying to contest through the hatch here. So the vertical angles exist. They've managed to break out Master and give themselves some way of entry into the building, but that doesn't look to be where Charles intends in playing. He's going to stay up on these backstairs by Astronomy and look to give a late round flank. Wins that fight on Luna through the floor, not one to peek, and neither was that. Guys, we were in a 3 versus 3. It's down to a 1 versus 3, and Hysterics, the KD master in this competition's in a spot to make the magic happen, but it is definitely a tall ask. 15 seconds remaining. There should be Nomad air jabs down somewhere. Peeks up red, doesn't win the gunfight, almost gets him. Not quite. 1 versus 3. Diffuser's going down, but sadly, the spray through the wall comes in. The wall bang connects onto Hysterics. And against all possibility, C9, after playing Villa not once all season, have taken it away from Giants.
If there was a way for a team that were in the underdog position to make a mark on this game, this series, this chat, and this studio, and this major final, it's go to a map you have hidden every single time and reveal why you are hiding it. What a way to start, Cloud9.